Hi Gemini, how is it going? I hope you are doing really well. Welcome to April. So let's talk a little bit about astrology before we get into the reading. If you would be interested, you can book a reading at rubyreadstarot.com. Gemini, after a really long period of Mars being in your sign, Venus happens to enter your sign on the 10th of April. And for you, I think you're going to find that this is a really positive aspect when it comes to travel, love, beauty, and confidence. Linguistically speaking, language is your strong point, and when you're being asked and prompted to put that into love, matters of love, you're being asked to express yourself in regards to all of those things, all of the approaches that you would take in order to be loved and love in return. Your words are going to be super important at this time. And so I think for you to flirt and to put yourself out there right now is really, really important. This Sun and Jupiter conjunction in Aries is also, I think, a really good luck charm because it's going to transform a lot of things that may have felt a little bit stagnant in your life. What's really good about this is that you're being offered this opportunity to figure out what it is you truly want and then go no holds barred chasing after that. This new moon solar eclipse that takes place on the 19th is another kind of empowering boost, only because it's asking you to break away from false alliances. And I think it's probably a really good idea for you right now to fight for what you truly want. Do you remember what I said about that conjunction with Jupiter and the Sun? You have an honesty, and this is perhaps a lot to do with your career and the progression that goes with it. This honesty, the honesty to yourself, is going to show you the direction to take next. The thing is, if something isn't satisfying, if something's not felt satisfying, trust this conjunction, trust Venus going into your sign, and trust exactly where it leads you. You being a mutable air sign, there's kind of something about you going with the flow. Don't be too rigid in this season. You might have to use your words and create an expression, especially when it comes to partnerships and matters of love, that might set you a little bit aside from where you may have been kind of feeling a little bit held hostage by your sign, by Mars being in your sign. So Gemini, you've got this advantage right now, not only in your finances, not only in your confidence, not only in your beauty, but the way that you speak, which is your strong suit anyway. Trust it, really trust it, because if there were matters of jobs that weren't necessarily working out for you, if there were matters of partnership with the alliances just weren't cutting it, right now, if you wish to set your attention towards the things that you know that you really, really want, you might find that this is actually a very, very lucky time for you. The King of Pentacles. Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo energy. Mercury, your ruling planet, is currently in the sign of Taurus. And this is not energy that you might necessarily feel too comfortable with because it's slow, it's practical, it's pragmatic, it wants to cover all of the grounds and all of the bases before it's actually going to allow you to make any financial progress. So, asking Gemini and Mercurial to slow down and think a few times before they make any moves, well, we all know how that goes. Gemini, there might be a need for you not only to communicate extra cautiously, but there might also be this thing that you're being asked to kind of reserve your energy for and kind of build stable. Do you know, every time I do a Gemini reading, there is the Temperance card. Sagittarius energy is not too far away ever. I do feel like this might be a predominant Sagittarius. Doesn't really have to be. There is something about you alchemizing and transmuting, and something about you being able to go with the flow. King of Wands. Lucrative, dynamic, daddy energy. There's big daddy energy here, Gemini. What's going on? Oh, here we go. This is exactly what's going on. The Knight of Wands. The Nine of Pentacles, the Seven of Swords, and the Judgment card. So there is somewhere, Gemini, that you kind of have to make a break for it. And when I say make a break for it, I'm kind of saying let yourself off the hook. Okay? There is a message that you know that you really wanted. And I feel like there is a particular fire sign here. Two kings, in fact, that are doing the most to kind of allow you this liberation to break away a little bit and get really well acquainted with the things that you know that you really want. And so in the month of April, you might have a decision to make about exactly which direction you're going in. Justice card, Queen of Cups, Eight of Pentacles, the Page of Wands, and the Four of Cups, and the Five of Wands. Gemini. The more grounded that you are in this time, the more you allow yourself to make progression, financially speaking. You know, Sagittarius energy here is really strong. There is something that needs alchemizing. There is something that needs transmuting. There is something that needs changing. And it could be in your confidence. It could be in your tenacity. And it could be in how much and how worthy you feel you are in receiving these messages of abundance that are coming forward to you. Two energies here, earth energy, fire energy. I do feel like these are two separate energies that are not yours. You might be moving forward and progressing in terms of financial well-being. That might mean that there is an opportunity for you to step forward in the right direction in regards to rebalancing certain scales where it comes to emotions that have been tied to your workplace and the things that you do in order to make money. I would say don't stay too stuck in the status quo, because the conflict that has been going on is very likely to change from whatever message comes through to you in the month of April. You might have been waiting for certain justice, and it's perhaps a really good idea for you to look at what it is exactly that you're doing to make a decision and stick to it where it comes to you allowing yourself off the hook and actually letting yourself Two of Cups. Really plow into these partnerships. I feel like there is a decision that you've got to make in regards to love, about who it is that's actually filling that cup of yours and what it is that you're having to work on. That doesn't mean that you're staying stuck. Capricorn energy could be a toxic bond, could be a Capricorn. World card at the bottom of the deck. Gemini. If you know that there have been relationships that have kind of brought you down, if there have been relationships that have been a bit like a toxic bond, in April, you are being asked to kind of give yourself a bit of a grace period where you're seeing what it is that you can do to change up things for yourself in regards to how you are making money. Yep. When you choose to balance out a few scales, when you choose to step away from the conflict, when you choose to reallocate all of that energy back into yourself and invest it back into yourself in such a way that kind of makes partnerships an inevitable part of the process, you yourself will find that a lot of these toxic bonds and a lot of these things that may have held you hostage a little bit kind of severed themselves from you. There is a closing out of a chapter, which means an inevitable beginning of a new one. Now, all that's saying for you is that if you really want to make this a prosperous time for you, Gemini, can you focus on the heart space? Can you focus on that productivity? There is something that's requiring you to work on it. And I have a feeling that has a lot to do with the decision that you're making about moving on from something that hasn't necessarily allowed you a balance, give and take. If you decide to focus on the status quo, I think you will find that the conflict will persist. If you decide to take what you've learned from this period of Mars being in your sign and now Venus moving into your sign and actually step forward in a brand new direction, especially when it comes to loving relationships, you yourself will understand where the toxicity has been in the relationships, how much of a part of that you've played, and what it is that you can do to work on moving on from that situation. Because you might find that you are entering a brand new chapter. And what this chapter is asking of you is, what have you learned? And how are you willing to show up now in these relationships that are not going to pull you into certain dynamics of toxicity? The aim of the game here is transmuting the situation. If you find that something's not necessarily working right now, what is it within you that you need to transmute? Because there is something here that is asking you to close out a certain chapter and move forward, almost kind of letting yourself get away with it by making this decision to progress and finding something that is a little bit more satiating in the heart space. Gemini, if you enjoy the reading, do give it a thumbs up. If you would like to book a reading with me, you can do so on the website rubymeetstarot.com. Thank you so much for joining, and take care. Bye.